Welcome back to The Square. I am your host, Curtis the Fifth.
And I'm Curtis the Fourth.
We are diving into the final week of no good football before we hit a good run of, what is that going to be, 24, 25 straight weeks of just insanely great football that I'm not missing a single week of?
Man, 24, man, maybe about 24, 25. It's right in there. You give or take a week off. We're killing ourselves for the Super Bowl, but whatever,
So we are wrapping up our divisional preview shows with what I think might be just the greatest division of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time. No.
I don't even know what the answer
one
to
of
that
the top
question would be.
one of the top divisions in the NFL.
Absolutely.
In the NFC North. There is a lot to unpack here, and we'll get to all of it. But we'll be, as always, making some division predictions, wrapping things up here. Look at the offseason, look at some biggest additions, subtractions from each teams, and some of the key storylines heading into the year. Now, let's go ahead, dive right in. We're not going to waste any time. Let's talk. I guess this team could be considered a lovable loser in the Detroit Lions.
Lovable losers?
Lovable losers. They're cute. They try.
Well, unfortunately, that
that moniker is taken, but the lovable losers of the NFL.
I don't love them. Sorry. I'm going to let you go with that, but, I'm go with it. I don't want to.
I think they're a team because I don't hate the Lions by any means. Even with them being a division rival, I have no ill will towards this team in any way. Like, honestly, they're my second favorite team in the division.
That's strange you say that. I agree with that statement, but for very different reasons. However, I'm sorry. This is just a doormat team.
Yeah, and they suck.
It takes the history to understand that. Like, I don't have a problem with Detroit, the franchise as a brand.
Yeah.
But I have a problem with their management, and I've been having it with it my whole life because I have seen the extreme lack there. They have not been able to get out of their own way. It is a notoriously badly ran franchise for decades, and this predates me even me watching football. They have just never been good.
Yeah.
And they only have a handful of decent seasons. I would tell everybody to refer back to the drafts episode because I went in very hard on Detroit, and I haven't changed it. I'm not gonna sit there and do a rant every time Detroit comes up and it just rings a bell in my ear or something like that. I become like the Winter Soldier about Detroit, but just I understand where you're coming from. They're not to be disliked. Actually, you want to root for this team,
honestly.
But from a division standpoint, yeah, of course, I don't want them to be better than the Bears. But hell, you can't. They don't help when we need help with Green Bay and Minnesota. They don't.
They don't take any.
They do the decal, and they they don't.
You
come
guys
with
aren't
the
gonna
right
understand
assets.
that by any means. Decal, you will.
You will about it fantasy year, and that's it. Just don't. It just. Do your part. Do your role.
Yeah.
And they, it's just lovable. I'm sorry. I can't miss me with that word. They are just losers.
I understand what you're saying because, if you guys don't already know, I mean, we've done 2 shows on it already. I am a diehard Bears fan. You are a long-term Bears fan.
Yes.
And we're looking at the division as, yes, they are the doormat, and we definitely don't want them being better than the Bears, but I want to see some fight out of them when they go play the Vikings or they play the Packers. Take some of that sting out so that when we got to play them the following week, they're already a little bit tired. They took some blows last week. No, they don't. Not against this team. It never happens. It's honestly, most of the time, everybody in this division looks like it's a bye week. But I will say, management-wise, based off of this last draft, even just with that one pick at the beginning, this is progress. That the pick of Penei Sewell in the draft is huge because I don't think once he fell past Cincinnati, there was no way Detroit should have gone any other direction but going with a foundational, just franchise building piece in a stout left tackle. and that's exactly what they get with Penei Sewell. I think it brings some blindside protection to Jared Goff there, who is also another big addition for them. And I guess the only way they're running the ball is to the left this year. I mean, they can't throw it. I mean, the only guys that they have to throw to is honestly Tyrell Williams. He's the only notable wide receiver over there. Oh, sorry, and TJ Hawkinson, obviously. He is their best player in my eyes. But DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, they're just gonna have to keep pounding the left side of the line, and hopefully whoever the right end is or the right outside linebacker, whoever's rushing on that end, is not fantastic, because you still got a rookie left tackle in. He still has to get his feet wet, still get his feet under him, and so they're not looking good on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, you got Jeff Okudah over there, so there is that. I feel like he's a young stud corner, but outside of that, their defense is not looking pretty. So they're in a spot right now where they are in full rebuild mode. This is life after Matt Stafford now. This is going to be a completely new look, because they've got a new head coach, but again, this is what has it been, 12, 13, 14 years? And this is the first time we're seeing the Lions without Matt Stafford in that long of a time. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting season for anybody in the NFC North going into Detroit, and not actually having that worry of because that Matthew Stafford was the big worry with the Detroit Lions. Just he at any point can get a big play off of you. So without him now, that's going to be interesting. And also without the backup in Chase Daniel, who was with Chicago, went over to Detroit. He's one of the best backups, I think, in the entire NFL. He still has a lot of football life in him. So wherever he is now, what is he with the Chargers?
Who was that again?
Chase Daniel.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think he went over to the Chargers there. But without having him as a backup for Jared Goff, their roster is their skill position, not even skill positions. It's just, we want to see if Jared Goff can revitalize his career here in Detroit, but in all honesty, this is where careers go to die. So it's not looking pretty. So to me, they're just in a really tough spot. I don't know if there's anything more I can say about Detroit's situation. I don't want to rag on them or anything like that. It's just a bad situation.
Yeah, you said it. I'm not gonna go super hard about them on this preview show. It's just we want to just stick to the division. So I agree with virtually everything you said. I do want to just reiterate. I believe like you were saying, the Penei Sewell pick. It was a solid pick. Now, again, we refer back to the draft. I kind of poo-pooed on it right after I said that.
Yeah.
But it was for a reason. I'm not going to go into that now. I think based on how they manage the team, I think that it kind of devalues their pick. Where it's like, great pick had he went anywhere else. But it's kind of like, Detroit and Cincinnati had that same need. However, because of Detroit's shakeup on the offense in general with their quarterback, somewhat times the rule of thumb is not necessarily protection; it's actually weapons. So
no, I understand that.
That's why I was leaning toward the weapon first.
But to me, they don't have the reason why I like it more than you do is because in my theory, in my mind, I like the fact that they're admitting there's no way this team is anywhere near good enough to compete for a division title. And Absolutely. So with that, we're not trying to win. We're not trying to win now. We're not trying to go out of our way to put points up on the scoreboard. We need to build a roster, and it starts. And you win games in the trenches.
I get it.
If you get a stud offensive lineman, I actually absolutely love the pick for Detroit, because it shows me that they are looking at, hey, we're in a full-on rebuild. Let's make the smart decision. Let's not go try to put some sexy thing on to try to get tickets.
I understand.
Because they really had the opportunity to draft Devontae Smith right there.
Exactly. And I agree with exactly everything you were saying, which the only thing that changed my outlook in that was this is the very first time I ever seen Detroit do this. They never went and did the smart thing. in this case, Penei Sewell fell in their lap.
Yes.
However, because it's Detroit, it's kind of like
it looks weird. It looks
just
weird.
Just go with the conventional nonsense. Get your bells and whistles because you're Detroit. It's not gonna matter. And I understand this could potentially be the first big building block if this team is finally willing to make that turn. Why do I believe it's possible? Hell, just in my recent lifetime, I've seen the Cubs win the World Series. I've seen the Kansas City Chiefs not only win the Super Bowl, but go back to it in 2 straight seasons. I've never thought
should have been 3 if they
I would have never
lined up on sides.
I would have lost a parlay if anybody told me 10 years ago, hey, I'm just going to throw this out of here. This is what your winnings are.
Yeah.
If these things happen and you hit, I would have just walked away. I wouldn't even took it. It's like, look, I will even pay for you. It's all you have no risk. Get away from me. It's after seeing these type of things and even seeing, and I said that to see, we've seen the Cleveland Browns make a turn.
Yeah.
I believe.
Hopefully.
Allegedly. We'll see in week 1. We'll see by October. But with that being said, I'm sorry. I just can't take this Detroit move on face value. Excellent move from an NFL standpoint. Can't disclaim that enough. But when it was Detroit, I was just like, okay, why is this not a sexy pick? It was sexy in Cincinnati because you want to know why? Because of everything you just said. Yeah. Cincinnati is not in a full rebuild. They are a couple of players and pieces away. And I was like, oh my God, get this guy and they going to roll. And they go and get the shiny bell and whistle. And of course, I told you about the trade. So it's, again, Cincinnati is the heads to Detroit's tails.
Yeah.
It's just one coin and one in the AFC,
one side of the same
NFC.
coin.
Yep, the Cincinnati Lions and the Detroit Bengals. So here we go. But I think, again, I want to start and begin. Penei Sewell, excellent, solid pick. I don't have a problem with that. Got
everything else around
TJ Hawkinson, great tight end, wonderful. Tyrell Williams will be a good addition to a team of wide receivers.
That already has 2 wide receivers.
They have none. So he's number 1. So we know that's a problem. And
do you have their roster pulled up? Do you know
who
are their other wide receivers?
Quintez Cephas, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who else I got? Khalif Raymond and Tom Kennedy.
Yeah. So
and backup tight end Darren Fells, which is probably your number 3 guy.
Yeah.
Arguably coming from Houston. So
what, TJ Hawkinson, Tyrell Williams,
and Fells.
Wow. They're gonna run a lot of 2 tight ends. They're gonna have to because they don't have an offensive line.
And and a lot of DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. I mean, my God,
if you stop the run on this team, it's over.
And hence why they rank 30th. Why I have them at the bottom of the division, which I know you do, buried.
I have them. I mean, I'll just go to my predictions. I have them 1-5 in the division and 2-15 on the season.
Wow, I got them at 4-13 and 1-5 in the division myself. I get them 1 sole victory over Minnesota. Whatever.
Yep.
At home.
At home against Minnesota.
That's the
you got to get 1.
You're not getting Chicago and you're not getting Green Bay.
Well, because your home game versus Chicago is Thanksgiving, and we've, I think, 3 straight years beat them on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and I had a thing where up until recently that was not the case, but I have to go with recency bias. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, we got y'all numbered now, so you're not gonna win that one. Y'all gonna swept this year. I'm throwing it out there now. Call it a hot take if you want. It's really a lukewarm take.
Yeah, I think we got him in week 6.
Not losing any
By that
sleep
time, we might have Justin Fields out there, completely new look.
Don't even need Justin Fields.
Well, we really don't.
That's how
I might need to protect him for this game.
I will say.
Week 4.
And back to your sentiment about being lovable losers. I mean, I would like to start to love this team as a franchise, just respectable. There's teams I'm down.
I want to start looking at them like I look at Miami. I want to start looking at them like I look at Arizona.
Right.
Teams that are young, that are decent, that are going to put up a fight. They're not a cakewalk in the league. They're not a cakewalk in the division. They're going to be tough. It's going to be a hard-fought game against them.
Right.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a game where you see it on the thing and you're like, oh, it's not one of those games where you're like, okay, we got this one in the bag. When my heart is pumping on game day, that's when I love football, because it's just, you don't know what's going to happen. Every play is just bang bang, and you're engaged the whole time. When you got teams like Houston or Cincinnati or Atlanta or Detroit out there playing football, you're like, well, we know how this is going to go. And but then you do have the off 2 games where they make it interesting and it's close at the end, and then they pull one out and they just avoid that 0 and whatever record, 0 and 17 record.
We're not even chasing down those games.
Yeah,
you know, it's just like,
it just happens.
Right.
So I want to see Detroit. I'm hoping that it started with that pick in the draft. I want to see them start to make that turn to become a respectable franchise and put together a team that everybody is interested in actually watching. With that being said, let's move on to the team everybody hates in this division. That's Green Bay. Unfortunately, I have them winning this division.
Of course.
But there's hope for Chicago Bears fans. Is this it? Is this the last dance of Green Bay?
I think this is the beginning of that. Jury is still out for next year. And
you think there's a possibility that?
I do. I just think it's too early to say.
What would need to happen, do you think, this season for him to, for anybody who doesn't understand what cryptic thing I'm talking about? Aaron Rodgers is possibly leaving this division if anything happens this year. He's upset with the franchise. They have restructured his contract so that there is a possible out at the end of this year. He technically still would be under contract and needed to be traded after this season, but for Green Bay, it is actually possible for them to trade him without taking on like a $40 million cap hit. So that is what I am referring to. If for anybody who doesn't understand the cryptic talk that we have around this,
right.
But do you believe? So what would happen? What would need to happen this year for Rodgers to decide, hey, let's just keep it going?
What they would need to avoid, one, is massive injuries happening this year to himself as well as to anybody, that's really integral to the success of this team. That'll be one. If a couple of elements. If their defense comes and they're like a bottom half defense, I think that's gonna have a lot to do, because now all of a sudden the offense is having to necessarily carry, and which I don't think is going to be a successful model for them.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that they're going to necessarily struggle, because they do have a high-powered offense if they get going. But another year, teams have made adjustments. They're not necessarily going to do what they did last year, this year. You know what I'm saying? You got to make some adjustments. But between injuries, bad defensive play, if they can't, there's like chemistry issues and they can't get on the same page. And I'm saying if they come out with a mediocre output and just kind of, they kind of squeaked by and just kind of got past Minnesota or Chicago for the division, I think that everything's back on the table, because he has to ask himself, what am I trying to do for the rest of my career? And
to me, I think there's only one thing that keeps him in Green Bay, and that's getting to the Super Bowl. Because if you 3 years in a row, after still not putting together a roster that I don't know how many people truly believe Green Bay is actually in contention to win a championship this year. Not just because it's a weakened NFC and this team is still good. They still got a Hall of Fame quarterback and they can make it to the Super Bowl. No, when they get to the Super Bowl, they are an actual true threat to win it.
Yeah, they could be, but the thing is, they have not been able to get back, and that's
to me, because I don't know, because I think
they are what you would call, they are a Super Bowl contender. That's it. I'm not even saying that they're the first one in line. They're just a contender, and they're consistent. But at the end of the day, from year to year, we're talking weeks, weeks 21, 22 in the year. At that point, that's where they get tripped up somewhere, deep in the playoffs. But
it's when you get when you're not in the kind of pressure cooker of the regular season, and you're able to, you gotta hone in. This is win or go home, and somebody is really teed up to look at just Green Bay and only Green Bay, because there is nothing beyond it. We don't know what's going to happen next week, so we got to win this one here. When people are looking at Green Bay that way, I could see them making it back to the NFC Championship. I can't see them winning it, because to me, that means you're going to either have to go up against Tampa Bay or the Rams, and to me, I just don't think that they have a roster to compete with those teams. And
I would have said home field has they have the advantage, but
Tampa Bay came in there and beat you.
They beat everybody on the road. So, I mean, it just, and then got rewarded with a home game.
And then you also have a team like San Francisco who you might have to go through, because to me, Green Bay is not winning the NFC. They are not going to be the number one seed. They're not going to have a bye week. They're going to have to play 3 playoff games.
Maybe you should have led with that, because that was where I was going. I'm like, I don't see you could be a Super Bowl contender and not be the number 1 or the number 2 seed.
I think they're going to the playoffs. Right. To me, they're going to be an 11-6 team this year. I'm just going to put it out there right now. 11-6.
I said 12-5, and I was struggling. I was about to go 11-6, and I'm like, maybe I'm just a little down on them because I got them, power ranked at 5, but like, damn. Yeah. But
and I have them at 7. So,
but I could potentially see how they can lose 6 games. And I'm hoping they lose 7. But with that being said, I do have them at 12-5. But I'm not even married to 12-5. That's why I had to change it from 11-6. I'm like,
and to me, it's just you're coming into a situation where you haven't seen Aaron Rodgers all off season. He literally has not. He has not dressed for a single preseason game yet. That I think that's significant. Where I know he doesn't typically play in the preseason anyway, but the fact that he didn't even dress, maybe even take a single snap, maybe not even one drive, that's significant to me, because we saw Buffalo. They had Josh Allen out there for a full quarter in the preseason, the third preseason game. Kansas City had Patrick Mahomes out for a whole drive. We saw Tom Brady this offseason in this preseason. Like that's significant to me. When we're seeing guys that are, we're seeing Tom Brady at 49, 50 years old out there in preseason playing. Right. And when we didn't see a lick of Aaron Rodgers. And when we're looking at these Super Bowl teams, it's not just because they really need to be able to get developed. No, he's a freaking Hall of Fame quarterback. But hey, you got to knock the rust off, because we have heard out of Aaron Rodgers' mouth, I don't throw in the offseason anymore. I do not pick up a football in the offseason. So that compiled onto the fact that you weren't even in the facility all offseason. Like that, I think
it speaks to his greatness. But
I do think that
he's going to have.
I'm not saying he's going to have the worst season ever. I just think that it's going to be hard to, because now you got Devin Funchess in there. He's going to have to try to create some chemistry with that. Now you've got Aaron Jones. He's not playing for a contract anymore. He might take a step back this season. Devontae Adams, he was ready to walk out the door with Aaron Rodgers. So we're sitting at that position, and on top of the fact that you now have a weakened offensive line. And let's just go through. They lost Corey Linsley, and that's going to be huge already. A center, a stalwart center, you lost. Like, this dude is one of the best in the league. Mm-hmm. He's not there anymore. Lane Taylor, guard, is gone. And then on the defensive side, and you also lost Jamal Williams on the offensive side. But then on the defensive side, you lost Christian Kirksey as well, inside linebacker. So across the board, everywhere we're looking, this team has gotten weaker. Now, you tried to address the linebacker position with Devondre Campbell. I do think that that's a pretty big addition there. Eric Stokes as well at the cornerback position. So the defense is, I would say it's marginally better from last year, but you're still looking at rookies and some aging veterans coming in to try to fill a void. That's pretty big with Christian Kirksey. So, I don't know. To me, they're in a situation where if I'm Aaron Rodgers, if I don't make it to the Super Bowl again, and you've already disrespected me for the last, what he feels is the last 6 years, right? And you come to me, you ask me questions about what I want and what I want to see, and then you completely disregard me and say, just go shut up and play football. And then you trade away the guys that I like without even talking to me. Mm-hmm. You get rid of my quarterback coach, the guy that I have a personal relationship with, the guy that I work with every single day. You just get rid of him. Mm-hmm. You hold on to a guy on Mike McCarthy, who I've come to you and told you I have a real problem with the way that he's running. Like, we could be already back to the Super Bowl if you would have gotten rid of this guy a while ago.
Way to go, Dallas.
Yeah. You still won't draft me. I think it's been the entire time he's been there, they have never drafted a first-round receiver for him.
No.
And that's also in a draft where you had the biggest abundance of first-round receiver talent. And then on top of that, in that same draft, you decide, you know what? Screw it. We're going to trade up and then go get a quarterback. People keep saying, like, oh, no, Jordan Love is the reason why he has an issue. No, it's all of that. And then you bring in Jordan Love. Right. There's a lot there. And to me, if I feel disrespected for 6 straight years, and I've given everything that I have to this organization, and I've given you my 2 cents on what you need and what I think we need to do, but you keep disregarding it, saying, no, we know what's best. All right, cool. That's your job. Go ahead, do your job. Let me go play with what you're saying. And I'm going to give you the best. I'm going to go out there and play an MVP level football for you. And then we still don't get it. And I still come back to you saying, okay, can we try it my way now? Can we just go get one more guy? And you still don't. And this is literally the definition of insanity. You are beating the deadest of dead horses in expecting to make it to a Super Bowl that way. You are alienating the one guy that has so much that can really affect the outcome of the game. The quarterback has the most influence on the outcome of a game. And you've completely alienated him from your organization. Obviously, he still loves his teammates, and I don't want to cast any aspersions on the rest of this team by any means. Mm-hmm. But specifically, the organization has pushed him out of the door. You have literally said, kick rocks, we're moving on.
And as I was saying, the defense, a struggling offense, chemistry issues, and just massive injuries, I think combined with everything you shared will factor into whether or not he comes back. I just said that I think the jury, because I'm just basing it on, they just left a sliver of hope for a possibility of next year. I don't disregard that. I understand what you're saying. I come to believe that this may be the end, but until I see somebody actually pull the trigger, because I mean that's my thing. It's like, okay, Green Bay, that's aggressive, but if y'all really gonna circle the wagons in the offseason with him again, I'll see. I just want to wait because I don't trust the organization at this point to do what they say they're doing anyway. So if they want to talk about we want to honor and we can come back and we discuss that in the offseason, when next offseason, I'll be very curious to see if they're taking the same stance. That's all I'm saying. And that's why I said I think there's a possibility for it to be open. I do think it has a lot to do with whether or not they win the Super Bowl. Because they win the Super Bowl, I think they're going to just run it back.
I think
all bets are off.
I think Aaron Rodgers, he'll say, all right, I'll bury the hatchet.
Just make the best of it, you know, because and I'll write it out. Winning all, is going to repair all the wounds. And and that's going to be fine. But they lose, and that's what I was saying. Especially if they lose badly, and if they just like you were saying, 11-6, get trounced in their first playoff game, I can see them leaving.
I don't even think all in how they trounce in the first playoff game. I think if they don't make it back to the Super Bowl, like that to me is everything. He's seen what this team is in the NFC Championship game. We get absolutely murdered by the run versus San Francisco, which very much so could happen again earlier in the playoff. Or I get taken off the field when we're 2 yards away from the end zone to give the ball back to Tom Brady. The guy who literally, when he came into the league, has never given up the ball in his life. Like, you really expect for us to have another shot. Like we're literally 2 yards away. Give me this one chance. Who else is you'd rather put it in this? I don't even this subpar defense's hands than a Hall of Fame quarterback's hands. And I'm not saying that the play before wasn't on Aaron Rodgers. You decided to give up on that play. Aaron Rodgers, sorry, you've got freaking legs. You can run it in. There was nobody there. It was a completely open lane. You decided to throw it out of the back of the end zone.
I'm so glad he did. But
yeah. Thank you. But
everything you were saying about them, everything you said about Aaron Rodgers and the management, I'm like, yeah, I agree. I'm like, I'm so emotionally detached because, like, I don't care. I'm glad that's happening to y'all. You know,
I am too, but I'm also
I'm just saying my fandom. I'm like, I'm listening. I'm like, you're gonna have to do this take. I can't even utter the words to say all that. It's just because I do truly because I hate Green Bay. I hate Green Bay, but I actually truly do have a deep respect for Aaron Rodgers, even though he keeps beating the Bears. I like you have the same respect for Aaron Rodgers that I like people in my day had for Brett Favre. It's the same. I get it. I don't have that same reverence for him because he's a bit of a whiner. And he comes in a different era, and I'm like, you're not Brett Favre. I'm gonna tell you that right now because you wouldn't be able to survive if the rules were like that. His mind was not built for that. I'm not saying that he wouldn't have made the adjustments, and so he would have just been a different type of player. Back then. That's all I'm really getting at.
Well, we live in a different NFL, but that's the other thing why I hate Green Bay. They've had a freaking Hall of Fame quarterback for the last 40 freaking years.
I've never seen him without one. I'm gonna just throw that out there.
God.
I'm welcome. Like when I say when you think where they're going to be next year, I hope he's gone. I just can't believe it until I see it because they've always had a quarterback.
Yeah, it's tough. But this team, like I said, 11-6. What did I have them in division? I have them 4-2, splitting with both Chicago and Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Minnesota's a little bit underrated this year, and we'll get to them in a second here.
Yep.
But I do also have them sweeping the Lions. The Lions can't compete. They don't have a roster that's going to be able to stop this team. I do. Green Bay.
You got Minnesota sweeping the Lions? I was gonna say who does the Lions?
Yeah, Minnesota drops one game against the Lions.
Okay,
that's where their one wins.
Yeah, I was like, what?
No, you ain't Chicago is getting both of them. No,
what? They're not gonna happen. I don't want to believe that.
So that's where I think Green Bay. I think Green Bay is a good team, but I keep seeing these guys and these pundits keep putting them on a pedestal like they are the elite of the elite in the NFC. I'm like, nah, they're to me, technically, they're the top of tier 2 in the NFC. They are not tier 1 NFC grade.
Okay. Give me your tier 1s.
My tier 1s are only 2, Tampa Bay and LA.
Okay. And then they come in at tier 2 along with who else?
I would say it's Green Bay, San Francisco, Seattle. Seattle's on the border too for me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's fine. I'm just curious where you were at.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with them. And they're at the top of that type of guys.
That's fair. Like I said, I don't think they're going to be competing necessarily for the number.
They're guys that I would
number one seed this year.
This is what I'm going to say. Those are teams. Tier 2 to me are the teams that in the NFC I would be shocked if they actually made it to the Super Bowl.
Mm.
I wouldn't be shocked if they made it to the playoffs. I would be shocked if they made it to the Super Bowl, though.
So you'd be shocked
if Seattle or San Francisco make it.
Okay, got it.
Seattle, San Francisco, or Green Bay. If they make it to the Super Bowl, I would be shocked.
So
Tampa Bay and LA, I would not be shocked.
Outside of them two teams, you're shocked the rest of the way, no matter who it is. I don't know about shock.
I just think that the NFC right now, it's not that it's diluted or any way. I think just the NFC is going through a transition right now, and as opposed to the AFC, because to me, the AFC is what the NFC was just 3 years ago. The NFC was just like, okay, Super Bowl contender, Super Bowl contender, Super Bowl, like these guys all could make it, and if you make it to the playoffs, you got a real good chance at making it to the Super Bowl. I mean. We saw Atlanta make it to the Super Bowl in 2016. Like, what the heck? Like, so and it's not like they came out of nowhere. That year they came out of nowhere, but that entire season you were seeing Julio Jones and Matt Ryan finally on the same page. It clicked for everybody, and that's what I see in the AFC. Kansas City, obviously they're going to be in contention. Buffalo, everything can come together. Now they got pass rushers. They have a real good shot. Mm-hmm. Ravens, they're sliding. They're on the decline on it, but I do think that they could still make it to the Super Bowl if they can get everything kind of wrapped up in a bow there. Mm-hmm. Cleveland, Tennessee, LA Chargers, like I would not. Indianapolis, now that they have Carson Wentz finally practicing again. I know he just got COVID, but we'll get that all figured out. But this team, he'll be able to play and take this team. I wouldn't be surprised if they made a run. But at the end of the day, NFC wise, I think it's very top heavy right now, and I think that the entire conference is going through a change right now, and we're going to start to see where these guys start to shake out very, very soon at the beginning of the year. I mean, we got a lot of NFC matchups at the beginning of the year that are dogfights, not because the teams are any less talented. It's just it's just going to be a tough matchup.
Right.
They're going to be good defenses going against good offenses. There's going to be real heavy defensive matchups. There's going to be some highlight shows at the beginning of the year, and we're going to have to monitor and gauge how that's going to work out. And but to me, I would be shocked if Green Bay would come out on top of all of that. I don't see them coming out of the top of that heap of playoff contenders.
And this speaks more to the greatness of Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, it does. He's everything to this team.
He's literally. I almost sound like. I really feel like I'm on ESPN right now. It's just, but it's. I'm being as literal, like in the most literal sense. He literally transforms this offense.
Because if he's not on this team, I see them down to at the very best. If they have the next Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, this team would be at best eight wins.
That might be where because I don't have actually notebook with me right now, but that just might be where I have the Arizona Cardinals, and that was where I was going. I said they're about as good as where Arizona is right now. Yeah. They're a bubble team. Mm-hmm. That's I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just explaining. Aaron Rodgers is not changing them from a playoff bound team to a bubble team. No, they are a Super Bowl winning bound team, or they're on the bubble. Yeah. That's a big, significant asset to your offense or defense for that matter.
I mean, what he does for that defense, right. He masks a lot of it.
What I was gonna say, what he does by clock management, more possessions. Because they can speed it up or slow it down. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
better field position.
If you don't believe me, watch any Green Bay Packer Bears highlight film on YouTube.
If you don't believe go watch week 1 of last year when they played Minnesota. They went fast right out the gate. They slowed it down in the second quarter. Mm-hmm. They came right back out in the third quarter, punched them in the mouth again, and they just kept switching up their style of pace. And it was like Minnesota was just like, we don't know how to stop any of this. Like
right.
It's just like they can do whatever they want on offense if Aaron Rodgers is there.
Yeah, and it again, it just speaks to I know we're talking about the Packers, franchise, but this one guy really changes the face of, So I understand where you're coming with the second tier, or they're not the next team up. They just, if they got a favorable schedule like they did last year and didn't play really anybody, and they took advantage of a weakened roster. Or a favorable roster. Call it whichever you want to call it. They took advantage of it. They did what they were supposed to do until the end. They got caught. Yeah. And unfortunately, Tampa Bay just wanted it just a little bit more. You had them.
Yeah.
Out of all the teams they played, I'm glad y'all lost to them technically, because that was the one I was not rooting for against Tampa Bay at all. I had Tampa going to the Super Bowl in the beginning of the year. Yeah. I can't believe y'all couldn't see this before it happened. Anyway,
we don't have to go back on that.
I'm talking about everybody. Nobody's seen it. I'm like, I'm not the only. Now I can't. My voice is deafened.
Yeah, everybody's talking about Tampa Bay now. I've been saying this
since day one before fantasy season even started. I was saying with Tampa, but neither here nor there. Some of us study and some of us don't. So
don't do me like that.
Not you. Not you, but you can't watch everything in the league. So it was just something I was monitoring. So, but anyway, No, they are a dangerous team, in which we all know as Bears fans or anybody in the NFC North as a challenger. We all trying to figure out how to take this team down for good. Not we just want to beat them. Like I think we're so done. We as a Bears fans, we're beyond we just want to beat. Dude, we're trying. Look, we need y'all not to be a thing anymore.
Yeah,
and and in the midst of that, we became not a thing
ourselves
three times in 3 stints. While we still trying to stop this magical run of 2 guys. Favre and Rodgers, like greatest freaking run of running quarterbacks ever in the history of the NFL. But San Francisco had it, but they decided to let their players go. So, but whatever, neither here nor there. Neither one of them are my teams. But with that being said, you got them at 11-6, 12-5, 11-6 bubble. We got them virtually slated at the same place.
Yeah,
I mean, if they cap at 12, great, whatever. But man, if they slip down to 10-7, oh, we talking now.
because I got some stuff to talk about there.
We getting into new division champion territory now. Because okay, that's up for grabs. So
let's talk about Minnesota then. Let's get into that discussion. This is a team where it's really this is the only team in the league that I know with you got a couple of teams in the league that you just can't get a pulse for.
Mm-hmm.
This is my only team where I'm like, this team could be so good, but this team could also be very bad.
I agree. I don't even know if that falls for a post. I don't even mess with. This is one of those. This is a whole nother category for me. Maybe because we live here. I can't.
I will say worst fan base and God, I hate Vikings fans.
I don't even want to get into that. Y'all horrible. You know that y'all horrible. So we're going to move on. Put it in the comments. I don't care. Whatever. Fandom. It's not even. I don't have a post. I just. How you just don't want to have nothing to do with some friend. This is one of them. I don't know what I think it's because we're so close proximity of the team.
Yeah, and we have to watch every game. God,
they force feed it down our mouths. And I'm sorry, y'all don't have the most exciting football to watch. I'm sorry. If you're not a homer here, it's very hard to really, really get up for this team. I mean, I'm not saying you down on them, but I mean, to be just overly, oh my God. I mean, I'll to use the bathroom 3 hours from now. I'm glued. Please, when is the next commercial? Please be a 3 and out so we can go to commercial. And I think, part of it has to be their home feed and who does their games. And
what's his name again?
Paul Allen.
I can't stand. He is the Vikings fan.
Mr. Allen, look, hey, if you ever want to talk on the podcast, that's cool.
I will give you some constructive
Vikings
criticism.
are not our people. we look. We come in peace. We are division rivals. But hey, my point is, we live here. I wouldn't have no problem with us having a conversation with you. However, you are an absolute homer.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. That's what I would have wanted to discuss, dude.
Because to me, we just be honest.
Right.
Be honest.
Just leave it. You can stop and end there. Just be honest, and we could have a real conversation. And then we can't have that. Kick rocks. Let's keep it moving, man. Because it's like, yes, how you get me into the fan base? There's no feel. It's that's what I deal with there. You trying to just navigate around with the fan base, and you're trying to, okay, I see what this team is doing, but they I don't know. I think it's part of their. It's a pro and con for Minnesota, where they don't necessarily run their team like most other franchises. They run it a little bit differently, which I think is to their advantage. And I actually, in a lot of ways, I like what they do with their teams because it's not always the status quo. And I think they found success in that. But they also, I think they tried to live there for a while, and that was a problem.
Yeah, I honestly, I think they've overstayed their welcome with this experiment with Mike Zimmer. I think this right now, Mike Zimmer, I don't know if a lot of Vikings fans would even agree with me. I might get stoned if I walk outside after I say this, but at this point, I think Mike Zimmer might truly be on the hottest seat out of any head coach in the NFC North right now. I know that a lot of people are saying Matt Nagy. I know Detroit just got their guy.
Right, pending what was going on.
Yeah.
And obviously, because what's been happening, they have just been quietly just off in the cut. And what has not have changed is they have stayed in that one spot. They have not moved. They haven't gotten worse or better. They have just stayed where they were. That is a problem because now the focus is about to shift back to them. Like, okay, what is Minnesota doing? Because we can see Detroit is going, okay, they're generally trending down. And
especially with the talk of Green Bay
up.
possibly not giving up the throne. At this point, it's up to the Bears of Minnesota to claim it. And
right, I'm sorry. I mean, you're gonna put all this on Chicago. We in the middle of a quarterback change. You know, like we're not necessarily at full go right yet. Like,
but I think that's the other part of why I can't get a hold of this team is because of their quarterback. Kirk Cousins, to me, man, he is. I can't do it. To me, if you can't, I understand. At noon, this dude can just dice you up, and he's death by 1,000 throws. And I get that, and that's cool. But the fact that you can't do that in prime time, when at the end of the day, that's what we play for, is to be under the lights, to have every single eye watching us on the biggest stage for the Super Bowl. If you can't perform on a primetime game, why do you ever expect me to think that you truly have a hold and a grasp of winning this the division, winning over your own team, winning over your own fan base? What is supposed to give me confidence in Kirk Cousins if he can't play in primetime?
I don't know. That was that. I don't have a good feel comment. It begins and kind of ends right there for me. I didn't have a big say about it when he was in Washington.
But now he's an $86 million dude.
No,
guaranteed. He had a fully guaranteed contract.
He has a contract, but I mean, we already know. I'm not even gonna waste airtime with that. Viking fan, you know what you have. With that being said, oh my God, why did you bring that up? That's agitating me right now. And this is me as an NFL fan, because if I am a Viking fan, like you were saying, these for Packer fans, and I did hear that, I just didn't comment to it. Like if I'm a Packer fan, I'll be pissed.
Yeah.
If I'm a Viking fan, I'm pissed. Why in the hell do we got this dude under so much money, eating up all this cap to just give us game manager results? That's at best. And every now and again, there's some flash in the pans. You haven't moved the needle. We're third in the division slated. We're nowhere near in playoff contentions. And so what? What is the point of keeping this guy around?
I will say they are near playoff contention to me, and I want to get to that in a second, because I want to talk about some of the additions that they made, because they had all the freaking picks in the draft. Every single time I looked up, they were drafting somebody.
I don't know about you, but 13, 14, 15 rookies ain't finna change nobody.
No, and I get that, but let me get to what they did add.
Go ahead.
I mean, it starts with the offensive line. Christian Darrisaw, you got to protect the statue in Kirk Cousins back there. So tackle Christian Darrisaw. I'm not going to say it's a bad pick. And he also fell to them because they traded out of their pick and with the Jets, and he still, because that was the guy that they were eyeing, and they thought that they could get him later in the draft. I will say the GM for Minnesota, one of the best in the league. He goes back-to-back years getting guys that just fell to him. So there is that. They go ahead, they get Kellen Mond, which I think is big because what is Kirk Cousins, especially with the fact that Kirk Cousins seems like he's not vaccinated at this point.
He's not vaccinated?
I think he's saying he's not ever going. I think he's on the lines with Cole Beasley. I think he's one of those two guys that are like, nope, it's not happening. And the fact that you're like Cole Beasley, you're the wide receiver. We got Stephon Diggs. We got Emmanuel Sanders. We'll just be fine over here in Buffalo.
You see what's happening here?
You're the starting quarterback. You're not going to be like, if you're not vaccinated and I'm not trying to get political. The vaccine to me is not political. COVID is not political. It is a disease that is taking on everybody.
And treat it like it's political.
It is a virus that is hitting everybody. Protect yourself is all I have to say. And the vaccine is not a microchip to track you. Nobody cares about you. Just don't die to this virus. Go get your vaccines. Protect yourself. Protect your family. That's all I got to say about that. But when it comes to the NFL, you're a quarterback. You have to be available for your team. And we just saw what happened with both Kirk Cousins and with what happened with Cam Newton in New England. Mm-hmm. You step outside for 1 day, 2 days, and even though you get tested every single day, you can have a mix-up with, I was supposed to be in the facility, I wasn't supposed to be in the facility, it was supposed to be this guy following me, and my tracker was on, my tracker was not on, I didn't have that contact tracing, whatever. There is a lot of nuances to the rules for unvaccinated players still, and if you're a quarterback and you have to sit for a 5-day process to be reintroduced into the facility, that's going to really hamper your team on a week-to-week basis when you only have 3, 4, possibly 5 days to get prepared for the next team. Mm-hmm. It's scary. So if he ever has any even with the contact tracing where he might have been in contact with somebody who potentially just got COVID, and since he's not vaccinated, boom, you're in the protocol. Now you're out for a week or 7 days, 9, 10, whatever it is, you're out.
Right.
You can't play that week, and now you got Kellen Mond is going to have to take on some responsibility and come in and be like, all right, I got to be ready to play no matter what, because we don't know if we're going to have our starting quarterback who we're paying, again, $80 million. Like, that is a massive ordeal there. So Kellen Mond, be ready to play. You got to be ready at any moment. They also did get Wyatt Davis, who I think was one of the sneakiest, best pickups in the draft. I will say, low-key, Vikings had a fantastic draft. The 2 tackles and Kellen Mond for their situation, just those alone really put them over the top in the draft. I know they had a lot of shots at taking whoever they wanted to in the draft. I think they had 11 total picks. Yes. So there is that. But then just with the free agency, they really went in and fixed their defense. Dalvin Tomlinson, one of the best pickups for defensive tackle I think he was one of the top defensive tackles in this free agency. Yep. Patrick Peterson, stud veteran corner. Sheldon Richardson, another defensive tackle you got there. Gosh. Brashad Breeland. That was the one I was pissed that the Bears didn't get. Brashad Breeland there.
Don't even go there with me, man. I couldn't even go. He left, went to Chicago, came back and got the job. How did Chicago let this guy go? I just don't understand. Moving on.
All right, but they did end up losing Anthony Harris and Riley Reif, but Riley Reif to me isn't that big of a deal when you get Christian Darrisaw in the draft, so you kind of you upgraded with that exchange there. Mm-hmm. It would have been nice to have Riley Reif for depth, but at the price that he was going to be, there's no way they could have got that done. So I do understand that move. Anthony Harris, though, that's going to be a big loss for them at free safety. But everything else there, they have a defense. So I do think that they're going to be in a lot of games now. Mike Zimmer is a defensive-minded head coach.
Defense. They don't have a shutdown.
It's not a shutdown defense, but it's good enough.
Shutdown. I guess I'm leaving because we use this the scenario, some of the same kind of scenarios with the Bears. They're not the Bears defense, and that's what I'm saying. They're good. I get, you know what I'm saying, but
to me, Bears are a top 5 defense. To me, Vikings are a top 10.
I say top half.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. I mean, we're only talking 6 picks here. Yeah, 6 slots. I mean, I don't necessarily want to say I'll put them in the top 10, but I would put them in the top
when I say
half.
I'm putting them in the top 10, it's 10.
I understand. At 10. At 10.
Yeah.
I got it. Maybe I got them. Maybe I'm like at 14 with them. I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with them. Look, power rankings.
Their defense is good, and I think Mike Zimmer adds on to them. Because my power rankings, I have them at 15. So that there is that.
But it doesn't mean they're a 20. Well, do they mean they're a 22nd team? Well, what it definitely means they ain't a top 10 defense. That's all I'm saying.
True.
Not being at number 22. But neither here nor there. I think they do have a decent team, but that was what we were saying earlier. What is this team?
Yeah, and then that's the thing, because Mike Zimmer does help elevate this defense, but I don't think that was their problem last year.
How did he do that, being that he was the offensive coordinator coming out of Cincinnati?
That happens everywhere. We had this conversation.
I know. I'm never going to understand, because there's no answer to this question. Nobody can answer it. It doesn't make any damn sense. It's just a weird... Whatever you were, you was a defensive or offensive coordinator, whatever you're going to be as a coach. I mean,
just look at Sean McVay. He is the offensive mind, was one of the best defenses at the LA Rams.
Yeah, I did the mind blown thing.
Yeah.
Just so y'all know.
So what I was saying is, I think that this is a good defense, elevated by Mike Zimmer being the head coach there. Kevin Stefanski has left. I think he was really the proponent as to why this offense was so good 2 years ago. But then now we're looking at a situation where Irv Smith is now down, so you really don't have a tight end. I know who was it? They got Herndon to fill in that role.
Yes, just happening hours ago.
But outside of that, I mean, Dalvin Cook is obviously your bell cow. Me and you both understand, though, and I think the rest of the world understands, he does have injury problems, so you can't use him on every down. And so that's where Alexander Mattison comes in. He's going to have to play fantastic and out of his mind when he does come in to spell Dalvin Cook. And then receiver-wise, Justin Jefferson is a great receiver. Adam Thielen, he's good. Tight end wise, you don't have that safety blanket, and offensive line wise, it's okay. And you got rookies there that will have to take some time to get their feet under them.
Yep.
So, and I don't think that they really do have too much offensive line depth. So that's also another component of it, where if somebody goes down, that's a hole. That's a big hole for them. So and then you've also got the uncertainty every single week of, are we going to have our starting quarterback? Like that, they are in a very rocky situation to me, where their defense is going to keep them in games, but it's really like, okay, offense, at some point you're going to have to step up in the game. You're going to have to make at least 3, 4, 5 big plays to win games. And can they? Do you think this offense rather is capable of making big plays to win games?
I don't think consistently. No, I don't think this team is built like that. They don't have the depth that they just don't. They starting. If
somebody goes down, that's
what I'm saying. It's like their backups are just. I mean, I think your best backup on the offensive side of the ball right now is Alexander Mattison.
I was going to say,
my point is, if you got him going in, all hell is broken loose anyway on your time, because your best player is gone. So that's,
you don't have Dalvin
your
Cook
best
anymore.
bench player and your best player plays the same position.
Yeah,
I don't know. Find a way to play them both together, because at this point, you know what I'm saying, just cash it all.
They're the same back.
I was going to say just cash. So you ask where they're going to be. This is going to be a team I see that's going to be, unfortunately, falling into third just by default. It doesn't even make sense. Detroit, you know your place in the world, let alone the division.
Where do we?
Chicago, Green Bay has been fighting this war since the beginning of time. So
it's the oldest rivalry in the NFL.
Right. Like I said, when Adam was fighting Eve and the Bears were fighting the Packers. So it crossed the garden. So blasphemous. Right now, moving on with that. But then that leaves Minnesota, where you are defaulted to the third spot. It just you see the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is a team, good offense, good to decent offense. I'm saying good to decent, slightly declined, because this is the part I don't know what it looks okay, but they don't have the depth, and they have a very serviceable and I think a very good defense that should get them games. That will get you 7 wins this year. So
I am right there with you. 7. I could see them with this defense, because I think I have the defense slated a little bit higher than you do.
Mm-hmm.
I could see with this defense them possibly getting that 8 win, maybe getting over 500 to 9. They are not getting double-digit wins to me in any stretch of imagination, and they could be as low as 5 wins. They've got a pretty wide margin there of what they can do, so I put them right in the middle at 7.
Okay. I just got them at 7. I don't even have them in a range. I just see them as a, okay.
I do also have them 3-3 in the division.
And how is that?
They split with everybody.
Okay.
I do think that they will, because for some reason Minnesota they do get up for the Packers games, and it usually it's a dogfight. I'll say outside of week 1 last year where they got absolutely murdered.
I'm gonna put them at 3-4. I think the Bears gonna sweep them this year.
That would be 2-4.
Why I keep getting?
I don't
keep
know.
adding that. See the 17 game? It
17th,
crazy
the
math.
17th game is not in the division.
It's in the division. An extra division game. Somebody has to play somebody 3 times.
Yeah. No, so I just and that's fine. You think that the Packers get them twice then?
Get Minnesota?
Yeah.
No. I think they're gonna take one of the Packer games.
Take one of the Packer games. Take one of the.
They're gonna take both Detroit's.
Oh, okay. You don't think that they don't? Okay.
I think Detroit. Wait, did I have them beat?
Yeah,
Minnesota?
I think you had Detroit getting 1 against Minnesota. So they would have to be 3-3.
I did. Oh my god.
Unless you think
no.
Chicago sweeps them. Which I will say, Chicago has had Minnesota's number for the most part. I think Matt Nagy has not lost to Minnesota at home yet his tenure there, and in Minnesota, I think he's 2-3 or 2 for 3. I think he's only lost 1 time to Minnesota.
No, I'm gonna go on. No, I'm not gonna go on some crazy thing. Nah, I think they're just gonna go 3-3.
3-3, yeah, that's where I got him.
Split down the line.
We're lockstep with all these picks right now.
I was about to be bold. I'm like, no, they don't even fit the profile.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm just making a hot take at this point. No, 3-3.
All right. Well, then that brings us to just the greatest team of all time, the Chicago Bears. Let's discuss them. Oh, perfect. Yeah. So let's discuss them. Let's dive into what this team can be, what this team should be, what we're expecting from them. This might be its own show, so just hold on to your seats with this one. This is going to be a discussion. Before we get into any questionable stuff, let's just talk about their offseason really quickly. Some of their additions, some of their subtractions, and then we'll get into the talk. Obviously, the biggest one is right out of the gate. Big trade up with New York. Thank you, Giants. You guys really helped us out there. Justin Fields, got him. We finally have a quarterback. That's out of the way. Tevin Jenkins, still haven't seen him play yet. He's injured. He has had surgery. We don't know when we're going to get him back, hopefully before the end of the year. They don't believe it's season ending with the surgery. He should be back sometime, and I think they believe November. So still see what we got going on for him. Hopefully his back is okay. We also did get Larry Borum, another tackle. I think he just adds depth to this offensive line, which is already strained super thin with the injuries. We also added on the outside of the draft. We just picked up Jason Peters, so another offensive lineman to add to the stable. Andy Dalton is at QB. He was the second quarterback, I think, to be added to a roster this offseason, or to have a transaction this offseason outside of Matt Stafford and Jared Goff. So getting traded. So Andy Dalton comes in. He's going to be the starter week 1 against the Rams. Damian Williams got picked up by the Bears as well, and so did Desmond Trufant in free agency to help add some depth to the cornerback position to help bolster that. Losses-wise, not really a loss. Addition by subtraction here. Mitch Trubisky is off the roster now. We did end up cutting Charles Leno once we did draft Tevin Jenkins, so there is some loss there. And Kyle Fuller ended up getting cut as well just to save money. Weren't able to restructure his deal, so had to let him go, and he's off to Denver in a stable of corners over there. Jesus Christ, I don't know. I think every Chicago corner wants to go to Denver just to be back with Vic Fangio.
Must be.
Because they've got, Bryce Callahan and Kyle Fuller now?
They got a whole farm system over there. Right now, so, yeah, same colors.
Yep.
Same region, basically. I don't know. It just seems like they're a farm system right now for Chicago.
So those were some of the biggest ones. Is there any other transactions that you wanted to talk about this offseason, or to highlight before we get into the discussion here?
You did say the Riley Ridley
Oh yeah, Riley really did just get cut literally again hours before we began recording here.
And just of note, we're just in a waiting game for this.
By the way, is roster cut day today?
I don't know if it was the day of today, but there's quite a few cuts happening, so it must be after what because randomly throughout the day, someone else is getting cut, and they're making it. It's breaking news every time it comes out. So this has to be.
It is in 3 minutes.
Okay, man. They just couldn't wait to get Cam out of there, huh? They couldn't wait 3 minutes.
They do because the final rosters have to be set. Or not final rosters. By the way, when we say final cut, we're not talking about the final transactions, and these are not going to be the solidified rosters, because what's about to happen right now, they're going to put out their 53-man rosters as it stands right now, and then guys get cut. Obviously, they're going to have final meetings, and then we're going to see this last week. There's going to be some changes and some turnover that happens this week where you'll see guys get claimed off waivers and other guys cut to fill in those positions. So it's going to be a little bit of a kind of a rotating door of information this next week. So just keep an eye out. Guys that get cut, they definitely might have a roster spot in a different on a different team. So just these aren't the final moves that are going to happen today, but that is with the context of what roster cut day is.
The cut is just they getting cut from this initial team.
Yeah.
And, but beyond that, at least it gives us something to look forward to next week while we're waiting for football.
I know.
With that being said,
Thursday football kick off the season. Let's go.
9 days. Okay. What I did find, I mean, these are not super significant, but if you really want to get deep into the Bears, depth. Shockingly, third string tight end Jesse James is with the Bears now.
Not even. I mean, if we're going to talk about tight ends and you want to go deep, Jesper Horsted had a day on the Titans. 3 touchdowns. He was absolutely one-handed catches. He should be. He's definitely going to get bumped up. I don't think he's going to get cut today because the way he played, he's honestly Justin Fields' favorite target right now.
Is he?
From what I'm seeing, I mean, because obviously Justin Fields hasn't played with he hasn't played with Robinson. He's barely played with Mooney. Like they're not on the same page yet. He's gotten to really taking a liking to Jesper Horsted, which the kid can play. He's one-handed snags in the preseason against these guys. Like he is not. This kid is he's good. I will say that. I think he would be a great he'd be a great complement to Cole Kmet on the other end, you know.
And also, interestingly enough, Tyreek Cohen is not even on.
He's inactive right now. He's on the PUP list.
I know, and they're not even any word about when he's.
He's just trying to get healthy, which is fine by me because that gives more reps to Khalil Herbert in getting his development further along. So
don't forget about your favorite one, Riley Nall. Come on, you gotta give him more reps.
Stop it!
Just give him more reps.
This dude has been here for 5 years.
He can't give him more reps. You don't think if you get a man more reps, that the man can't actually do nothing with the more reps? He might not do nothing, but I still have to ask the question. The fact that he's still on the team should be telling you something.
I think he had the first touchdown of the offseason for us.
Saved his whole career.
Yeah.
Now he's here for the whole year. That dude, that is my man's intro audition tape right there. I scored the first touchdown this year.
I'm looking when those cuts come out.
This will be my last one, but I scored the first one.
When we start looking at these cuts, I'm looking for his name first on Chicago. He needs to be gone. We cannot keep paying this man money.
But the scarcity of running backs, I know I'm saying this like every time they put him out there, he does nothing. I mean, I don't know why I feel like just by watching him, he just looked like he's destined to have a breakout moment in these games, and he just never does.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's judging a book by its cover. I should stop that. I just rest on he's just still on the roster, but he's at the very back end of the depth chart. So, get it at go get it in the special team. So, whatever.
All right.
He must be an excellent special teams player. But I just seen a couple of names that you didn't mention that I thought was interesting. Like the Jesse James, Ryan Nall still here. Tevin Jenkins. out for basically the season. Which what the
Well,
hell
he
is that?
should be back in November. Like I said, that's the timeline we're looking at.
You're the only one that's been saying it. That's just
That was because Matt Nagy he said it in that he said I don't want to put a timeline on it, but doctors are saying November is kind of where we're eyeing him to come back. But he said I'm not putting a date on it. It could be later. It could be sooner. But with that kind of caveat, he said, and I'm done talking about it. He's having surgery. He's going to go through recovery. That's it. So that's where that has been left, and that's why you haven't seen anybody really talk about it because Matt Nagy won't comment on it, and we don't get to talk to the doctors anyway. So,
okay.
But that is the timeline we're looking at for him. I mean, I could possibly see them holding him as depending on where our season's at. Might even hold him till December just to make sure he's fully healthy and he can't retweak anything or anything like that. So, I mean. Let's just get into it, though. Chicago, let's start with Fields. I mean, let's get the Fields discussion out of the way.
Right.
I guess first things first, what did you see out of him this preseason?
Honestly, seen very little. Yeah. I followed a lot of highlights.
Yeah.
However, from a rookie standpoint and from the context that he is in line to take the reins of this franchise soon, zero complaints out of me. I like what I've seen. Like he doesn't move like a rookie. I'm not saying he's playing far and above, but you've seen rookies come in and they don't look like they know what's going on. You know, they're just kind of there. And, you know, he looked like he owns the place. Like this guy's like he's been here before, you know.
I'll say this about it. Mac Jones has gotten a lot of praise for the way that he's played in this preseason. I think he was like 36 for 52, almost 400 yards. I think 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think they've scored on every single drive that he's initiated. When it comes down to it, he ended up with a 92.2 passer rating.
Okay.
Justin Fields, in the same span, 116 passer rating. He has the highest passer rating out of any rookie QB.
You just can't put a price on
with
efficiency.
No offensive line.
You just cannot put a price on efficiency and intangibles. Yeah, and he just has
it.
I don't have to sell this to you. I was like, we're just selling, selling ice to each other in the winter to each other. With this one, it's just one of these carries. You just have to take your 2 eyes and just look. Yeah, look. Like, don't look at everything else. Just look at him.
Yeah,
this pro ready. I mean, do I have to say the man came from Ohio State? I'm not from Ohio. However, anybody that's in Midwest country that knows anything about the Big Ten, it begins and ends at football for Ohio State with the Big Ten. For any of us who are, diehard Minnesota Gopher fans, Iowa Hawkeyes, Wisconsin Badgers, when it's time for us to have to sit there and go against the powerhouses in the country, when we have to go up against the SEC, we send our best. Our best is Ohio State. That becomes our team.
Yeah.
I don't know about how you feel. That's how I am about Big Ten. That's a college football thing. But the point being is, I can't go up there raising my flag about Illinois fighting the Illini in any sport.
Yeah.
With that,
oh no, wrestling. We got wrestling down. They're great.
All right, too. Let's get back to where the moneymakers are. So where the headlines.
No, wrestling is a moneymaker in the Big Ten. I will say that.
There's no WWE for us. But I'm kidding.
Stop it.
I'm saying, let's get back to football. So, I lost my train of thought. What was I even saying?
We were talking about him in Ohio State. And
I was just saying, it's just as I was saying for Ohio State. Ohio State, we adopt that team when we need to. When it comes down to the big, we need to beat the big teams down in, the Pac-10, SEC, ACC teams and all that type of stuff. Generally, our only, we got Michigan every now and again. Sometimes we have Wisconsin.
Michigan's been horrible for like 10 years now.
I said sometimes we have, and sometimes there's a Penn State, but the mainstay, Ohio State.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this dude, When I say he looked like he'd been here before, because technically he has been here before.
I mean, he was
in a
college football playoff.
pro style college program. You know, there's a few out there, and he was in one of them. You know, and so as I'm saying, his transition is. It's almost like effortless. It's just he's just there, and he.
I mean, you could just remember after week 1 of the preseason, he's out there, and he's playing. I mean, he had a little bit of a slow start. He got lit up. He fumbled the ball once, but then he just started picking apart that Miami defense and just kept driving down the field and put up a score. Ran in for one. Found I think Jesse James wide open for a touchdown on a bootleg play and got him out wide open. Made the right read, didn't have to second think it, and one of the hardest throws to make is the wide open throw for a rookie quarterback. It's no man's land out there, and you've got to put it on a dime, and he did it right into the breadbasket of Jesse James, wide open, nobody could catch him, got in the end zone. So good plays there, and then he goes into the press conference, and they're like, well, everybody says it's really hard. The speed of the game is really what everybody's looking for. What did you see out there? He's like, it's honestly slow for me. Like, it's what you're saying. He's already seen this before. He's had to play the Alabamas. He's had to play the LSUs when they were good. He's had to play Clemson. And he went out there and beat Clemson. Like, he's been this dude who I've been banged up. I've been hurt. I've been in a really tough situation, and I'll come out there and I'll still drop a dime on you. I don't care. I'm going to continue to play. And when it came to this whole, does he have the worth ethic? And is he going to really strive to be the greatest quarterback? All that stuff that was coming out in that draft preview time where everybody has now all of a sudden had questions about what Justin Fields was going to be in the NFL out of nowhere. And basically what he was going to be able to how he's going to be able to translate his game to the NFL, and what eventually dropped him down to, in some people's eyes, the 5th quarterback out of that bunch, where I was like, to me, he started at number 2 and he ended at number 2 for me in that ranking. And because I can't justify yet putting him over Trevor Lawrence. Now, I will say with Trevor Lawrence's situation, I would much rather take Justin Fields in Chicago than Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. But that's a different thing.
Trevor Lawrence was on the fast track.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it's fair to compare these two right now. The situations are so different.
Yeah,
but if
you have to wait until
talent,
Jacksonville takes the turn.
We're taking just talent and so on and so forth. Give me Justin Fields. I mean, that's taking nothing away from Lawrence, and Lawrence just doesn't move the needle like Lawrence could be the next Josh Allen. I mean, that's great, but Josh Allen just came into his own. Not really focusing on you right now. You know, get better. You in Jacksonville. Good luck. You know, because that's not even taken away from him. That's just. He's not in a great situation, but they had a great draft and a great offseason, unlike some of these other teams, which that there is a silver lining for him.
Yeah, so I just think that he's in a situation where now, and I think this is also a testament to Chicago as an organization, where they're not going out here like, you need to come save our jobs. No, we're going to play Andy Dalton the way that we should. We don't have an offensive line. And for everybody in Chicago who's freaking out about the fact that Andy Dalton is starting, if we trot out Justin Fields in the first game against Aaron Donald, and Aaron Donald just absolutely eviscerates Justin Fields' knee, he might not ever bounce back from that. Let's get him developed. Let's have him be able to read. And this is where I think the difference is between Andy Dalton, and this is what Bill Lazor was talking about. The difference between Andy Dalton and Justin Fields is obviously Justin Fields has more talent. He has more upside. That there's no question there. What it comes down to is not even mentally, just how you're able to conduct yourself in the huddle for your offense, where Andy Dalton can step into the huddle, and because we've got this 15, 16, 17, 18 word plays that Matt Nagy has for his really creative scheme that he has. Andy Dalton understands all of that. He's gotten it down to a T, to a science, where now he can conduct the offense, where he, instead of oh, I memorized the play. Let me say what you just said back to me. Eyes closed. Let me just parrot it back and let me imagine in my head what Andy Dalton is able to do is actually make it so that the offensive line, the receivers, the running backs, the tight ends, all the different position groups are able to come in and be like, okay, now we can visualize the play in our heads, not just yours. So that's the difference between the two as it stands right now. I'm not saying that Justin Fields can't get to that. It just takes time because you have to. Now he's already done the first part. You have to know the entire playbook. Now you need to learn how to conduct the rest of the guys in your huddle to be able to have them know the entire playbook, where they don't have to, where you can just say it to them, say the words that need to be, and direct it at them so they know exactly what they're supposed to do. And so I'd much rather have the mental of Andy Dalton in at the beginning of the season in front of a suspect kind of patchwork offensive line that we have right now,
right?
As opposed to trotting out Justin Fields with his ability to get outside of the pocket and protect himself that way, where he still is trying to figure out how to communicate to the rest of his offense. That's it. And it's not, I don't think it's going to take long for that to happen. I would rather him be ready to do that and have done it for a couple of weeks in practice before he's tried it out there for a game. That's it. And it's not saying Andy Dalton is the answer to the entire season. No, I want to see Justin Fields this year. I just don't want to see him week 1. He's Bill Lazor has made it clear he's just not ready yet.
And there shouldn't be that much pressure, but I mean, all this is clickbait nonsense, and just anything for a story, and let's just keep it going because we have nothing else to talk about when it, I mean, there's plenty of things to talk about, but it's just the obvious, easy conversation. Let's have the debate. Should he start in week 1 or shouldn't he start in week 1? Well, should Mac Jones start in week 1 or shouldn't he?
Well, but he is now, so
but there was never a thing though.
Yeah.
Why would Justin Fields be any different? We traded up just to get him. I mean, we didn't trade up to the 5th pick to get him,
no.
Which I would have understood why you want to talk about. They don't talk about Trey Lance or Trevor Lawrence even as much. Maybe if I was in Jacksonville watching Jacksonville local TV, maybe.
Well, Trevor Lawrence is already, we know he's a starter there. I mean, they traded away.
What else would they
Gardner
talk about
Minshew.
if you had to brought up anything about Jacksonville? It has to be him.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Tebow's gone, so we don't have to talk about that anymore.
Yes,
I
true.
know, shameless.
I mean, Zach Wilson, we know he's a starter over there. They still need to go find him a backup just in case.
I was just saying, why are they not talking about Zach Wilson? What's going on in New York? I mean, like, what I'm saying? But yet Justin
I think
Fields
we know exactly what's going to
airwaves.
happen there. I think the question, if you're going to talk about
but what about how good is he supposed to be? It's the Jets. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn who this guy is. Like, no one. I have not seen anybody elevate the Jets franchise in my lifetime. So what makes him so special? That's all I was getting at. And if he's that guy, hell, you got a damn story. I guess that's some. The story is so so god awful. You can't even sell that. Like, we know he's not gonna do that. But the point is, you got him. I haven't heard his name since the draft.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
It's a problem in itself.
Yeah.
But Justin Fields has just been, just lit the airwaves up from day one, from the draft till now. They have not stopped talking about this guy. Yet, it's still, is they going to start him? They're not going to start him. The coach has already just told you, anybody watching football, why the hell would you throw him out there right now?
Yeah.
What do we need one extra game for? We got an extra game. Why do we need, we have to get this win in week 1? No, we don't.
No.
I don't. And then look, if we get it, great. I don't want to do it with Justin Fields. I don't want nothing to happen to him and potentially in week 1. If we didn't have an Andy Dalton and a Nick Foles over there, and we had some John Brown, and Jim Baker as your 2 and 3, then okay, we rolling with Justin Fields all in, starting now. That's great. Wherever he's at right now, that's our best option. All I'm saying is, what the hell? If nothing else,
especially when you're looking at a schedule where
flip this whole Andy Dalton pickup, flip it to look, he's gonna buy us some damn time.
And that's the other thing. So I was gonna say,
but go ahead. I was done.
Specifically about starting Justin Fields, you don't have to trot him out there week 1, especially when you have the Bengals the very next week at home, and you've got Detroit at home. in week 4. Like you've got other opportunities to start him in much better situations.
Look here, we can roll out Justin Fields to the Rams in the NFC Championship game. Yes, I said it here. I said it here. Boom. You like that, don't you?
I do.
Think about it.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, you go to sleep on that one. Just think about that.
That would be a great game, and we beaten him twice. So, God, don't even
make the connections.
Stop putting me there.
I should have waited till after we were recording to tell you that. But go ahead.
Okay. No, and I think that there's better opportunities to start him in those positions. But then the other thing is that Andy Dalton is nothing to sniff at. It's like to kind of scoff at, rather, because I want to go back to what you were talking about when we were going when we were going into the draft. When at that time we put out the video, frustrations of a Bears fan in that whole situation, and I had my whole diatribe of why I am just fed up with this organization. Right. But you were talking, and you were trying to give some solace to Bears fans, and you were talking about, if you really go back and watch Andy Dalton, and you look at what he is for what he can do for this franchise, he's clearly better than Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. That's clear as day. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So when you have that combined with the fact that if you truly do just go back and watch his kind of end run with the Cowboys, he was pretty damn good. That team just sucked. Like there's no,
and nobody's blaming this guy for this.
And there's no question about what was wrong with that team. It was not Andy Dalton. It was the defense, clearly. So when you really
line, keep going.
No,
special teams. just keep
the
going.
Coach, the GM,
Jerry Jones. That was just to cut to the chase. Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
The stadium, everything. It was all wrong last year.
So God, when you look at when you add him to this roster,
he did that well. That's all I'm saying. He did that well.
I know. I mean, but when you really look at it, he actually did do very well.
That's what I'm getting. He played. It was his son so bad you couldn't see goodness, but he played excellent.
He was great.
Horrid. We thought Russell Wilson and what's his name? Yo got Tom Brady.
Oh,
what's his name? But Tom Brady and Russell Wilson could do less with more.
Yeah, no,
do more with less. I'm sorry.
He truly was taking.
I'm sorry.
He got that team.
Kirk Cousins does less with more.
True.
Moving on. But yes, he's that kind of. It should fall in that category.
Yeah.
You know that he does. You know he just does more with less. You know.
I mean, it's his whole career. He was with Cincinnati.
Doing more.
Yeah. So when you're looking at that and you add him to this Bears roster where you have a true number one, I don't think there's any disputing that with Allen Robinson. You have a young stud in Darnell Mooney. You've got a very solid running back in David Montgomery. Again, obviously we don't have an offensive line shored up. We've got pieces. Like I said, it's kind of a patchwork offensive line as it stands right now. And you have a top 5 front 7 out of the entire NFL. You're putting him into this situation where I just think as a quarterback himself, he should get you 2 wins based off of just that upgrade alone from Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. That I think Andy Dalton is worth 2 wins against those two. But I also do believe with the extended season, there's questions and we do have some losses on the defensive side, and again, offensive line is very scary as it stands right now. So I put Chicago, I put them at 10-7.
I had them there originally. I got them at 9-8. But a game, I'm not gonna eat your lunch about that. That's fine. It can go either way. It's a couple of games. I'm just kind of they got a crap schedule.
If we don't play,
and that's
Justin
with a
Fields.
really bad schedule.
Yeah.
On top of everything you're saying, and with this schedule, I still stand on what you said. 10-7, 9-8. That's fine, and that's with or without him. I just think they have some challenges to overcome. Unfortunately, we just position ourselves for the next couple of years, which this year is going to be fine. I'm okay with wherever they fall, but come next year, oh man,
This next offseason, conversation. Oh my god, this next offseason, they better make a killing.
We looking at a potential Chiefs Bears Super Bowl now. I'm just throwing that out. I'm throwing that out there because unless something happens in Kansas City, but I'm just until something changes in Kansas City, Kansas City's gonna be my pick going forward. I mean, that's my team, but I'm like, y'all gonna have to do something to knock them down. They have been doing that, and I'm not saying that as a brag,
but they're still the favorites.
I want these teams to digress a little bit because, goodness, it's starting to turn into an issue over there. There's too many top dogs over there now.
So I mean, I get what you're saying. It just this team I think has a lot of. They do have some very tough matchups in this season, and I'm not going to try to sugarcoat that. I mean,
no,
they do have some runs of some pretty easy games. I don't think Chicago has a single back-to-back home game this season, which sucks. But at the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, they have a situation where they have some breaks in the schedule. Like I said, at the beginning there, you got Cincinnati and the Lions. And to wrap up the season, you have the Giants in week 17. So, I mean, that's always going to be a plus. And so they've got some winnable games, and they have some games that I think are trap games for their opponents. I mean, you got the Cardinals coming off a bye, having to go into Chicago. Way down in week 13. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good one for Chicago there. I think they're in a really good spot there.
Coming off a long week too.
Yeah. True.
Just keeping that in mind.
I know they have like a week 10 bye week. They go into their bye week on a Monday night game versus the Steelers. I believe this is a Halloween game, is it not?
End of October? It's November 8th.
Oh, it's right after. Okay.
Yeah, they got San Francisco on Halloween.
San Francisco is a Halloween game, but that's at home where it's going to be cold at the end of October. So San Francisco having to take that. San Francisco's never been healthy, so let's see. No kidding. I'm not going to wish that on anybody. I actually want to see San Francisco healthy.
And that's one of those asterisk games. It kind of depends where we're at. Don't know. It can be.
I do have them winning that game. Chicago winning that game as it stands right now, just because they're at home, and I think San Francisco does still have some things to work out. So first half of the season, they're going to have some things that they need to finish securing. But I mean, but then they also on the other end, they have games like at the Buccaneers. They have games at the Cleveland Browns.
Who made this schedule? This schedule is worse than I even thought it was.
I told you they have the third.
Hold on.
Technically, it's the third toughest schedule in the league, but it's one of the toughest out of anybody's, I think, because you have to play the Super Bowl champs, you have to play the AFC West, you have to play the NFC West, and the AFC North. So
hold on. At Vegas, home to Green Bay, at Tampa Bay. Home to 49ers, at Pittsburgh, finally take you a week off, and then Baltimore is coming to your house. Yep. I'm like, and then we get a break. We get a shortened week, and we get to go to Detroit for the Thanksgiving game. Which is already okay. We're on a short week, which kind of even, gosh, and then Arizona at home.
I'm saying it's not an easy schedule by any stretch of imagination.
I'm worried about Cleveland or Kansas City's first month of the season. You see, nothing is beating this.
But exactly why I'm looking at Chicago and saying, even with this tough schedule,
I'm sorry, and concluded at Green Bay right after that.
But we do get a break with the Giants right before that, so it's kind of a week. That's a second bye week, is it not?
No. Well. The at Green Bay is in week 14, and then Giants game is in week 17.
Oh no, I was saying because we end the season at home, I think, versus. Oh no, we
on the road in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But this is not a good schedule. I know what you're saying. It's like every other week is great, but it's that the even weeks.
It's going to be inconsistent, and I'm trying to prepare myself to hear the back and forth that's going to be happening week to week with these pundits and whatnot.
And this is kind of lock and step with my 9-8. It's just going to be
It's going to be up and down season. But I do think that they're
forth.
going to win more games than they lose based off of this team had a very tough schedule last year, and they went 8-8, and that's without a freaking quarterback. We got a quarterback.
No, I agree. I hear what you're saying. Which, like I said, I got them at 9-8. If they was 11-5, you know, not gonna 11-6.
Yeah,
it wouldn't. I wouldn't be sitting here up in arms like, oh my God, I did not see this coming. You know, like I see what you're saying. It just some of this I gotta watch play out, because as much as I look at these like, oh my God, this is horrible, murderer's row. I never said they couldn't win the games. They can win quite a few of these actually. Yeah. So it's just gonna be, man, this is gonna be an ugly season. It's not gonna look pretty.
Yeah. So I think Chicago has two things this season: develop Justin Fields. Try to win as many games as possible. Let's go try to make a playoff run. We don't have a first-round pick next year, so you don't have to worry about tanking to try to add a piece or anything like that. So let's just go out. Let's go play. Let's go try to get a win. Let's field the best team that we possibly can. I want to see Matt Nagy do everything that he can to keep his job. I think Matt Nagy deserves a little bit more job security, because I do truly believe he's put together a scheme that will work in the NFL with the correct personnel. But I just think Ryan Pace has not given him that personnel. And I think Ryan Pace has finally started to do that, especially with the big move with Justin Fields. But that's neither here nor there. When it comes down to it, Matt Nagy is playing he's coaching for his job. And Chicago really is going to have to focus this next offseason on, all right, is Matt Nagy the guy to lead the charge here? And two, how do we fix the offensive line? How do we fix our defensive back situation? Next year, this is Chicago, the Cardinals, Washington to a degree, and Carolina. Those are that's the next wave of NFC powerhouses, I feel. If they're all making the right decisions, because I feel like all of these teams here specifically have they've shifted their organization back into, okay, we are doing everything that we can to win. Like, this is not a question of if this team has the talent and if everything falls the right way. No, these are talented rosters. These are talented teams. These are organizations that are set up for the future. So with that being said, those are the teams, if they continue down that path, those are going to be the teams that we're seeing out 1, 2, 3, 4 in the NFC, where it's like, okay, who is going to try to beat? Who is going to be those 3 teams that are going to try to compete for those wild card spots after those guys? Because that is the tough schedule. Those are going to be the tough guys to try to get through if they continue to make the right moves.
Yes, and very interesting you knocked San Francisco and Seattle out of that.
I'm not knocking them out of that. I think Seattle, yes, because I do have and this will be a part of my question of the day. Okay. I do have something about Seattle that I think is going to that might need them to change their views on things before they can get back into that conversation about being a Super Bowl contender. San Francisco, I will say, because we did pass this up before, we did already discuss the NFC West before we got to see Trey Lance. I will say I really do like what they're doing over there, especially with the Jimmy Garoppolo kind of installment. If they're going to go with this 2-quarterback system, I like it. And I will say, I know there's a lot of people out there that it will never work in the NFL. I think if anybody can figure it out, it's Kyle Shanahan.
And again, you've seen flashes of it in the past, in the 80s. It's always been something I think frowned upon. I think more so now in our social media world where everything is just in your face. So more people are more open to say things and talk about these topics more than ever. But this is not a new thing. It's just not something that is not practiced much. It's like the Wildcat. It's just something you do here and there. And
I know, and I get that, but I think from what happened in that game against the Raiders, they had them on their heels the entire game. The Raiders could not keep up. They could not figure out what was happening and how to adjust. And it helped mask some of the ineffectiveness that Trey Lance would have if he was the full-time starter.
Right.
So I understand the whole diatribe, but if you do have 2 solid quarterbacks that can really go out there and make life hell, why not use it all to the best of your ability? Like, why would you stash somebody on the bench that you definitely know could come in, even with your starting quarterback, and help elevate your team? I just you're handcuffing yourself if you don't. So, like I said, Kyle Shanahan would be the person that I would entrust to figure out how to make that work in the NFL. And it looked like it was going to moving forward if they do want to do that. But again, what I will say, San Francisco is right on the outside because they need to figure out what they have in Trey Lance first before I can make that determination. But you got aging rosters and obviously Tampa Bay, the Rams, Green Bay looks like they're on a trajectory to have some stuff shake up here. And then Seattle, they've got some stuff to figure out as well. So that's why I would say next wave is those 4 teams, and San Francisco is right on the outside of that.
That's fine. I just wanted just some clarification. Yeah, that's fine.
Just got to figure out what Trey Lance is, and then we can put him in there.
Minnesota not in that list. I just want to throw that
it's
out.
Kirk Cousins.
Just don't know. No, I was wondering what we just don't know.
No, it's just it's not that we don't know. I like their roster outside of Kirk Cousins.
You obviously do know. You said no. They're not on the list.
If it's Kirk Cousins, yes, no.
I understand. I'm just clarifying a few teams here.
Yeah,
keep going.
So that's it. I think Carolina has a very, very high upside. Arizona, obviously. Chicago, definitely. They've only, like I said, Chicago only has 2 positions. They're very key positions, but they only have 2 things that they really need to truly fix. And if they can just get them halfway decent, they're fine. And I honestly think defensive back is already halfway decent. Just it's kind of exacerbated by the fact that they have a top 5 front 7, and then you've got these DBs that are like, okay, this is definitely middle of the pack DBs wise. Like it's not 100% locked down as like a top 10 DB situation. So
right,
that's where I'm at with that. But offensive line wise, fix that. This offense can go on a run here, especially with Matt Nagy's offense. So I'm excited for that. But for this division, for my question of the day, what I want to know is, looking past this season, obviously, like I said, I believe as long as Green Bay doesn't win a Super Bowl this year, Aaron Rodgers is moving on. Okay. So with that being said, we had our discussion 2 weeks ago about the NFC West and Seattle having their issues and what's going on with Russell Wilson there. With 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks upset with their teams after this season, would you believe that we could be staring at a Russell Wilson for Aaron Rodgers trade on the horizon? It's in conference, which is going to be scary for both teams.
If you asking me to guess right this moment or respond to that just based on the conference alone, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I understand that one gets something and everybody gets something out of it, but
I would say the biggest question is Green Bay with Jordan Love. What are we saying about him? So if you're bringing in Russell Wilson, I think that would be the biggest question. If you're bringing in Russell
Wilson, I don't even think you care anymore, to be honest. Now, I think I guess I can answer it both ways, really, because I think a case can be made either way. So I'll make a case for the trade. Let's go with what's more interesting there, because generally, I don't think we're going to see it. But with that being said, it does make for an interesting topic. The advantages is, man, both teams get to continue their franchises. You know what? We get to keep coaches and coordinators' jobs. We're not
doesn't skip a beat.
Right. We don't, do we really want to go with a new personnel? I understand maybe one of the teams got somebody lined up that they do like internally, but it's still a process that nobody wants to go through that if you don't have to. And if the best solution that you have is, man, we're losing Rodgers, but we're gaining Russell Wilson, and vice versa. We're losing Russell Wilson, but we're gaining Aaron Rodgers. I think either franchise will take that, if it means to continue their run at championships. where they do not have to go back into that draft. They do not have to sit there and groom somebody. They do not have to set them. You know what I'm saying? You basically have fast forwarded yourself 5 seasons of processing and development.
Mm-hmm.
And like, who wants to go through that? But so at that point, I can see where the conference does not matter because it's just the conference and we're not division rivals in no way. And you're way the heck over there and I'm way the hell over here. So
yeah.
However, we seem to play each other once every year for some strange reason. I don't know how. Look it up, people. Seattle and Green Bay damn near plays every year against each other.
Yeah.
I don't, maybe with this new system, it's going to change now finally, but that has not been the case. But it can happen. It's just I think it'll set the damn NFL league on fire, especially in the NFC, just to shake up both of them franchises. And man, can you imagine Russell Wilson going back to Wisconsin?
It's true.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's angles. I mean, I can sell it. Yeah. Trust me. I'm like, hell, I think I would have to be a Packer fan for his duration. I've never been one, but I respect the hell out of Brett Favre. But I like Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And if he even goes and wear those god awful, dreadful green jerseys, I'm gonna have to learn to like that. I'm just gonna have to, you know what? I'm gonna be over until he leaves.
Yeah.
I'm all in. People ask, you a Packer fan? No, I am a Russell Wilson fan. It would never be Packer gear.
Yeah.
It would be something with Russell Wilson's name on it or his jersey.
Go get his Wisconsin jersey.
Yeah, it's not exactly. You know, it's not. I'm just gonna have a Packers hat on.
Yeah.
Unless Russell Wilson's name on it stitched in there somewhere, which it won't, and I won't have a hat. That's just my point being is I won't be geared up, but I will be. You know, I'm a Russell Wilson fan, so I believe in what this guy is about, even when his coach doesn't. You know,
true.
So, I like your question. I think it's interesting because I think you trying to be you think you me trying to get ahead of the. I'm gonna get ahead of this.
It's
story
because I've been sitting here
just putting the story out. That's you putting the story out almost a year ahead of time.
Yeah,
you know, so. We're recording this, you know, August 31st, 2021. You know, come next April, you all of a sudden like, remember back in August?
No, it's because the way that I got to this question was, it was straight up just I was thinking about, okay, this is, to me, it's more than likely Aaron Rodgers' final year, and I truly do believe Russell Wilson is still fed up with the Seattle organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a lot of stuff going on with Deshaun Watson right now, and figuring out his situation. And I know Miami is still in talks about grabbing him this offseason or early this season rather. So with that being the case, there's only really 2-3 franchises that would go out of their way to grab a quarterback right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one would be Denver, and I know, I mean, I guess there's really only one. Houston obviously is looking for a quarterback, but those guys aren't going there. Maybe the Falcons are trying to move off of Matt Ryan. So there's a couple of franchises out there that are willing to go snag a quarterback. The Giants are in that running as well, especially with this possibly being the final year of Daniel Jones if he doesn't show something this year.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being the case, and with these two guys, two Hall of Fame quarterbacks sitting here saying we're tired of this disrespect that we're getting, there's a lot of teams that would go out of their way to respect these guys coming over to their franchise. And I would say if there is anybody that Pete Carroll is ready to move off of, move off of Russell Wilson, then Aaron Rodgers would be one of those guys. And if there is anybody that Green Bay would bring in for Aaron Rodgers, a young stud Hall of Fame quarterback, you get a younger guy for more years than Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why they wouldn't do that. I mean, if that's the situation, Aaron Rodgers still wants to leave after this season, and Russell Wilson is still fed up with his position over there in Seattle.
Mhm.
If I'm Green Bay, I'm calling them up saying, hey, like, I know we've got Jordan Love over here, but we'll send you Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love will back up Russell Wilson. You guys can have a Hall of Fame quarterback. You can restructure his deal. He'll more than likely sign for you long term. Seattle doesn't historically have a horrible franchise. It just recently they've had some issues in the front office. I know Pete Carroll could be a little bit abrasive, so maybe that doesn't work for Aaron Rodgers, but I do believe if there's anybody that Pete Carroll would listen to, it would be a guy like Aaron Rodgers, being straightforward with him, not beating around the bush. He's not a company man, obviously. He's going to be very direct with you. He's going to come to you and say, hey, I need this, this, and this. If you don't do that, I will raise hell. So if that's the case, then I would see Pete Carroll would be all right. Got to make some moves. So the more and more I thought about it, it just made so much sense for these two because there's no other quarterback on the market that would be there's no other trade that could happen that would be a win-win. Everywhere else would be there. We'll have to see later down the road, but somebody definitely is losing in this trade for how much you're going to have to give up to get that guy. So with that being the case, Green Bay would have their wariness to make that trade if they're trying to go after a guy like Tua and send him outside of the division or even to the Raiders or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle trying to send Russ over to Denver or to the Dolphins or the Raiders, or even trying to keep him and go send him to New York. I know that's one of the teams that he said he was willing to go to.
You say which one?
The Giants. Because I think Sierra wants to go back to New York, and he wouldn't play for the Jets. So
no need at this point.
And the Jets wouldn't trade because they got Zach Wilson. So that was just kind of the outlook that I had. It just made too much sense to me in my head. For if you are truly trying to do the best for your franchise and not just trying to get somebody off your books and stop him from raising hell in the locker room.
Right. So what is the question again?
The question specifically is just, is it outlandish, or is it in the cards that next season this would be a topic of conversation? These two guys are still pissed off. Do we just see a straight up trade? Seattle sends Russell Wilson, Green Bay sends Aaron Rodgers. They do a swap, maybe some picks to make the whole thing work, going back and forth. But whatever the case may be, these two guys get switched over on teams, and we see Russell Wilson in green and gold, and we see Aaron Rodgers in blue and green next year.
Definitely. I will say I'm not going to answer that. I'll say that for the listeners. But yeah. I will say that there is definitely a possibility that could be a play next offseason. However, just want to throw a monkey wrench in there.
What's that?
What we still don't know is this big, smelly, huge, wet, slimy, pink elephant in the living room right now. What in the hell is going on with Deshaun Watson while all that's happening?
Oh, well, I think we do have.
I think
we do have a little bit more light on that this week. Literally, just this week, we've gotten more news. Finally, a lot of teams have dropped out of the race. They're saying we're not touching it this season. Whatever happens. We don't care. Like we're not going to give up assets to go after a guy. There have been trade offers put on the table, and it sounds like a lot of teams have put up conditional clauses in their trade request that are like, well, if he goes to jail for however long and we can't play him this year, then we want picks to get sent back to us just as a clause in the contract or whatever.
As it should be.
But Houston has said outright, we don't want any conditional pick swaps or anything like that. It's a straight up, we want this for that. You take on whatever risk comes with Deshaun Watson. We take on getting him off of our books because he's never going to play for us again. That's it. And a lot of teams have dropped out of the race with that. But one team hasn't. And that's the Miami Dolphins. Miami is still making calls. The GMs are still trying to convince Houston to do a conditional thing. And Brian Flores won't come out and say that he's not, that there's not a possibility that there's a trade on the horizon. So with all of that being what it is, it seems like maybe Brian Flores and Miami's not sold on Tua. And with that being the case, they want to go get a stud because they do realize that the rest of their roster is actually pretty damn good. So that's kind of where they're sitting right now. Is Dolphins are the only team in the room right now, still trying to have a discussion with Houston, and Houston just isn't hearing it.
Got it.
But that's been Houston all offseason. So,
well, I don't have much to say behind that. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. So,
but that was my question. Question within your question, but.
All right, well, that's going to do it for today's episode. Please like, rate, subscribe, and share the podcast with a friend here. Go follow us on Twitter at @_square_pod. Next time you hear us, we're going to only be 2 days out from football happening, and we will have our new structure for the show. It'll probably be broken up in multiple different segments, so just keep an eye out for that. You'll have multiple shows next week. It'll be fun. We're going to be in a whole regimen. It's going to be a different type of show, and you're going to hear a much more excited version of me because I finally have football on the horizon. Although I will say, college football does start this week, so if you are interested in that, that is something that you definitely got to go watch this Saturday. Week 1, NCAA football kicks off. Finally, we have a regular air quotes there season for college football. So everybody's playing full schedules. We're going to have a college football playoff. It's going to be good.
Yeah, things are starting to get back to normal.
So, yeah, just keep an eye out for all of that. Go answer the question of the day. Please comment. Let's have a discussion down below. And with that being said, we will catch you guys in the next one.
Bear down. Red Kingdom.
Bear down.